In America, everyone counts, and the 2020 census is how that great promise is kept. Respond today online, by phone, or by mail, and help inform hundreds of billions in funding for education, health programs, and more. Shape your future. Start at 2020census.gov. Donald Trump continues his focus on white people. Yes, targeting white voters. It's real clear what he is doing. He has now banned diversity training, labeling it divisive, anti-American propaganda. It came to Trump's attention that millions of dollars of taxpayers' money has been funding the trainings. Well, in the two-page memorandum from the Office of Management and Budget, Director Russell Vought, the president demands that federal agencies stop using taxpayer dollars to fund these various trainings. The document stated that the sessions engender division and resentment within the federal workforce. Let's not forget that previously Trump said he does not believe the U.S. has a systemic racism problem. Here we go. Let's talk about with our panel, Malik Abdul, a Republican strategist, Kelly Bethea, communication strategist, Mustafa Santiago Ali, Ph.D., former senior advisor for the Environmental Justice EPA. Mustafa, I'll start with you. You've worked in the federal government. What do you make of this? I mean, this is just the latest Donald Trump. Hey, how can I appeal to white voters so I can win in November?
He's just continuing to try to fan the flames of division, create chaos wherever he can. It's actually, it would be laughable if there wasn't so much seriousness attached to the things that he does. I used to actually be, a national trainer when I was in the federal government, probably about the middle part of my career. And it was amazing to see folks who many times had never really interacted with each other coming together and being in a space where they could begin to unpack stuff and begin to dismantle, some of the antiquated thoughts that some of them had. And if you don't have these opportunities for people to, begin to really unpack many of the challenges that have been built into our system, then you're doing a disservice. He knows what he's doing. And the interesting thing is he doesn't also realize that he's hurting a lot of small businesses as well, because many of them are the contractors that actually conduct the trainings. Of course, many of those are contractors of color, but some are not. So not only is he, hurting the federal government and the journey that it's been going on to try and get it right, but he's also hurting small businesses. So, Kelly, what do you make of this again? This targeting of diversity training, calling it anti-American propaganda?
It's typical Trump. That's what I think of it on its face. But what's more insidious than that is the notion that we are in a society that these kind of trainings are not necessary or that they're not needed. That couldn't be further from the truth. As we are becoming a more diverse nation, we still have these antiquated thoughts, like Mustafa had alluded to, regarding race and regarding our interactions with other races. And it is critical at this time to have training such as this so that we don't repeat history. And just, to give people just a little bit of perspective with this, even as diverse as we see society today, especially like, for example, with Congress, we have applauded Congress being the most diverse Congress ever. But that only means, it only means that only, I want to say 53 members of Congress are people of color or Black specifically, but there are 535 members of Congress. So that's a problem. Because that's not reflective of what our nation is. It's not that we only like in perspective, we have a lot more people of color in this country than what is reflected in our Congress. And what is reflected in our Congress is something that is antiquated. We need to change that. And we need to change it in the federal government as well. And the fact that Trump does not want to do that, the fact that Trump is adamant about stopping that.
Got it.
That's a problem.
This is the memo right here. Go to my iPad, please. This is the memo. And this is what's interesting here. They write, it has come to the president's attention that executive branch agencies have spent millions of taxpayer dollars to date, quote, training government workers to believe divisive anti-American propaganda. For example, According to press reports, employees across the executive branch have been required to attend trainings where they are told that, quote, virtually all white people contribute to racism, unquote, or where they are required to say that they, quote, benefit from racism, unquote. According to press reports, in some cases, these trainings have further claimed that there is racism embedded in the belief that America is the land of opportunity or the belief that the most qualified person should receive a job. Look, I'm confused here. This is a memo from the director of the Office of Management and Budget. He's citing in the second paragraph press reports. Don't you think the director of the Office of Management and Budget should actually get the details himself before you do this? I mean, you literally are saying, oh, we read this in the paper or on television, so therefore we're not going to ban the trainings, as opposed to actually finding out what the trainings actually were. This is laziness. Hold on 1 second, having some audio issues. Guys, let's get the mic straight. Okay, you need to unmute yourself. Now try again. Okay, all right, keep going. You're very low, so guys, you're very low. No, guys, I'm hearing him, but he's very low. Okay, y'all sort that out, and I'm gonna come back to you. That's what's crazy, Mustafa. Like, literally, they're citing press reports. They haven't even checked themselves.
Right. I mean, it's real simple. As you said, it is extremely lazy because all they have to do, all of the courses that run through the training that happens on the federal level, actually, there's not only a write-up about it, but there are evaluations that in many of them happen both before and after, so that those who are going through the training will share if they find value in it. And if a training doesn't hit a certain number, then, of course, it's not going to be utilized moving forward. But when you have an administration filled with individuals who have no idea about what they're doing or how to actually utilize federal dollars in a proper way, and refuse to engage with folks, especially career employees, who would say, here's the process, here's the information, now make an informed decision.
So Mel, again, could they have checked themselves?
Yeah, I have a huge problem with how they decided to roll this out, especially with the memo that's referencing essentially press reports. I don't think that you should issue out any type of government memo that is based on press reports. So I do definitely disagree with that. On the notion of diversity training, I think it's important for us to actually make a distinction as to what they're saying here. They're talking about specific instances where they're talking about like white privilege and critical race theory. And critical race theory, which is ironically something that I studied while I was in college. I think that those things need to be left at a collegiate level. I don't think that the federal government needs to be in the business of doing training where we're talking about white privilege and critical race theory.
Why?
Because in that instance, well, because there's a whole science, social science, whether you're talking about post-structuralism, Marxism, any of those things are dealing, you can actually relate to critical race theory. I don't think that it's a problem. And as I just checked earlier, even before coming on the show, the federal government has an Office of Diversity and Inclusion. They're going to continue their program. And if you look at the AD organizations that have actually assisted the federal government in the training, those things will not be affected. So whether you're talking about things like race and gender, sexual orientation, a lot of religion, a lot of those things as far as the federal government apparatus, they are still going on. But whatever this anonymous thing that we still don't know enough about that apparently is referencing things like critical race theory or white privilege, no, I don't think that the federal government's job is to do that. I think that is definitely something left up to either organizations or colleges and universities.
I don't think that those theories and those pieces of curriculum are taught separately. They're typically integrated into whatever training is made available in the federal government. my understanding of this memo is that he wants those components of the trainings, even within the Office of Diversity and Inclusion, the office that is responsible for, administering these trainings. He wants those components in those trainings out. And that is what, correct me if I'm wrong, Roland, but that was my understanding of the memo. And if that's the case, then that's not right, because even in federal government, I mean, that is a social science aspect. We're talking about political science. They are in politics. This is a political atmosphere.
Yeah, you're definitely correct on the notion that he wants that component, and I'm glad you actually pointed that out. He wants a component of the federal government's diversity training removed. That's a component, not the diversity training program that the federal government will continue to offer. So I think it is, sure, we can discuss whether or not whether the federal government should be in the business of teaching things like white privilege and stuff like that. But personally, as someone who's taking these courses, who has a background in this and understanding how that and feminism and a lot of other things work, I don't think that the federal government should be in the business of that type of instruction.
But I believe they do, because that kind of instruction is necessary to understand what's going on with the public. I like, just for a perfect example, DOJ, like a lot of the cases that can come down regarding discrimination, abuse, fraud, anything can stem from the ailments that are explained in critical race theory and feminism and the like. I mean, we're right now we're only talking about critical race theory and systemic racism, but it's not disputed that there is systemic racism in the government.
No. But see, that's the problem, Kelly. We know that. They are living in denial. They don't want any discussion. They don't want any of that. And again, the fundamental problem here is this is what happens when you have somebody who is in the White House who watches television all day. Donald Trump literally leads the nation based upon what he learns on Fox News and on One America News Network. That's it. That and Newsmax. That's what he watches. And so the fact that they are saying we're ending this based upon press reports, they saw it on television. That's the problem. And so these are not bright people. These are not these are not the brightest bulb in a dark room. OK, and so that's what you're dealing with here. You're dealing with weak people who make decisions like this. And it's just nonsense. And it's ridiculous. But again, this is a guy who says, oh, no, I just have too much work to watch television. No, you don't, because this is how you lead. But here's the other piece. It plays into, Mustafa, it plays into Donald Trump's targeting of white voters. Today, he tweeted again, oh, no, these Democrats, they're going to just have a wave of crime coming to the suburbs. Basically, he's yelling, I'm your only savior. White people, I'm the one. I'm the white guy who can save you. That's what all of this is all wrapped up into, Mustafa.
It's about trying to create black and brown fear for the country. Watch out for the black folks. Watch out for the brown folks. They're going to take something away from you. They're going to damage something that you have. They're going to balance out the power structure, which, of course, this is what it really always goes back to. It's so ridiculous. They're so shameful. And they're so tired because they can't legislate. They can't create policy. So they try and tear everything down. We've watched it for the last 4 years. You haven't seen any other memos coming out about the other thousands of trainings that run through federal service that they could have focused on if they wanted to do an in-depth study of all the trainings that were out there and then said, well, here are the 10 that we feel no longer have value, and here's the reasoning behind it. Here's the science behind it. Of course, they didn't do that because they've never done their job since they walked in the door, except in trying to dismantle America and democracy.
Here it is, Billy. Sleepy Joe Biden has pledged to abolish suburban communities as they currently exist by reinstating Obama's radical AFFH regulation. There goes suburbia. What he's saying is, white people, I can save you, just me.
Well, from my perspective, it seems as if what he's focusing on is the same thing that Democrats and Republicans focus on. They focus on the suburbs. In 2018, there was a large discussion about how Donald Trump was going to fare in the suburbs. You can say, I guess those that would be white people, but that was white women, but that is something that Democrats were concerned about. That's something that Democrats are concerned about now, what happens in the suburbs. But contrary to how this is
hold on. So you keep saying, so you're saying the only message Democrats have is for the suburbs?
No, I'm not saying the only message that Democrats have. Democrats are running a message trying to get the voters, that those suburban voters, as we are saying, that they're white women voters, but those same suburban voters that we've been talking about since 2016, these are the same voters that exist now.
No, it's not.
Talking about white women voters.
No, it's not.
Now,
it's not the same. It's not the same voters. It's not. The reality is, and again, you're now seeing other mainstream media outlets finally wake the hell up. Donald Trump is making overt appeals to whiteness.
Well, again, this is the same. So if I know that you're not going to get on here and argue that Democrats have not targeted suburban voters. I know that you're not going to get
actually what I'm going to target is what I'm going to argue is that Democrats actually have a multiracial coalition that in order for them to win, it requires that. Republicans, one second. Republicans have a white coalition. There's a difference. Republicans appeal largely to white people. Facts. That's not an opinion. Those are facts. And Donald Trump is trying to hyper appeal to just white voters.
Well, there is no truth or fiction in this because we both have opinions. You have an opinion on what Donald Trump is focusing on. No, I'm stating actual facts. I'm having an opinion on what Donald Trump is focusing on myself. Now, the reality is that in the suburbs, there are plenty of black people who live in the suburbs. We've had this discussion on your show before.
Depending upon the state, hold up. First of all, when you say there are plenty of black people living, it depends on the particular state. But depending upon the state. But the reality is, he ain't talking about us.
But again, that's your opinion, Roland. I'm fine with you having that opinion. I have a different opinion, but I'm not going to sit and belittle your point because you feel as if he's talking about white people. The reality is that the Republican Party across the board, even before I decided to become a Republican, the Republican Party has been associated with white people in the same way that 90% of black people vote Democrat, and black people are associated with Democrats. It doesn't matter which election cycle it is. When you have 90% of people voting for one party, sure, you can say that, well, Democrats are only trying to target black people. Well, no, they're not. They actually have a much larger coalition, and I believe that the Republican Party has a much larger coalition than just white people. I'm not white. I know many people just like me who are not white, and we are supportive of the Republican Party, and some, not all, and some are actually supportive of Donald Trump.
Well, bottom line is this here. Look, his numbers are coming from white people. That's where they're coming from, and so we certainly shall see what happens. Back to that Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment. Ceek.com, folks, a black-owned company founded by Mary Spiel. They got a couple of great products, folks. So this is their virtual reality headset. Allows for you to actually pop this open. You drop your cell phone right into here, close it up, and then you're able to watch VR content right here with this headset. So actually it's pretty cool. So, just put it on, and then this is how it looks. And so what then happens, you can watch the content that's on Ceek.com. And trust me, it's pretty cool when you sit here and you feel like you're actually in the room. And so you can also watch 360-degree video on YouTube or your own video as well. So with these headsets right here, then of course they have their 360-degree 4D headphones, which are great. They have this microphone you can attach to this for gamers who want to actually use this while they're also playing. That fell down there. Then you also have that's the headset. Then also their Bluetooth, look at your music. So I listen to it when I go walking. I love listening to it. Great bass. Again, a 360-degree travels across your head. If you want to order one or both of these, or even you want to subscribe to Ceek.com, go to CEEK.com. Use the promo code right here, RMVIP2020. RMVIP2020 to get these products. Certainly make for great gifts. And so we certainly appreciate them being a partner here at Roland Martin Unfiltered, where we also support Black entrepreneurs who are also doing some great things. And so to Mary Spiegel and her team, thanks a bunch for that. All right, y'all.